The topic is evaluating limits using squeeze theorem. What this theorem says, if we have three functions such that g of x is bigger than f of x and smaller than h of x, and the limit of f of x as x approach a is equal limit of h of x as x approach a is equal some number L, which is right here, then a limit of g of x as x approach a has to be equal L. What this says, this is h of x. So let's draw function f of x such that a limit is equal L also. The only way, that means as we approach a from the right side, let's assume this way, it's going towards L. Same thing from the left side, the limit is equal L means something like this. We don't care what's going on, like for example here, the function could go this way. So it doesn't have to be below all the time, but it has to be the graph of f has to be below h, near a. Near a means on an open interval, like in this case on this interval. That's all we care about. Now what the squeeze theorem says, any function that has the graph between these two will automatically has to squeeze in through that. See? On that open interval right here. So in other words, if you try to find, and let's call it g, so therefore if you try to find the limit of g of x as x approach a, it has to be equal L. It just because you're squeezing it between those two, and it has to go through that limit L. Alright, so let's do an example. Evaluate limit of x squared cosine 3 over x as x approach 0. As x approach 0, we know 3 over 0 is going to approach infinity, and cosine over infinity, it's going to alternate between 1 negative 1, so it doesn't exist. So every time we have a cosine and sine, we have to think about using squeeze theorem if we can. So how do we do it? We always know that the cosine or sine, they're always going to be bigger than negative 1 and smaller than 1, always. Now all we need to do, we want to find the limit of x squared times cosine 3 over x. So if we multiply the cosine by x squared, and x squared is a positive, then we can multiply the left side, which is negative 1, times x squared, and then 1 by x squared, and the inequality would not change because we multiplying by positive number. So therefore, x squared cosine of 3 over x is less or equal than 1 times x squared is x squared, and the negative 1 times x squared is negative x squared. Now what do we know about these functions as x approaches 0? Let's see. A limit of minus x squared as x approaches 0. This is an easy one, polynomial, just plug a 0, negative 0 squared, which is 0. It's good. Now what about the limit of x squared as x approaches 0? It's the same thing, plug in a 0, it's 0. Therefore, we can say that the limit of x squared cosine of 3 over x as x approaches 0 is equal 0 by squeeze theorem. And that's it.